Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nemeka Onyeka Obirori. The scripture says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. And Bible says in all your getting, you should get wisdom. For wisdom is the principal thing. What is knowledge and what is wisdom? Knowledge and wisdom comes from studying, from education, from learning, from enlightenment, from exposures, from experiences. It is when you study, you learn, you understand. Out of understanding, you gain knowledge. When you rightly apply knowledge, wisdom manifests. And my people perish for lack of knowledge. What distinguished Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the land of Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar, even when they were captured slaves, was because they were found 10 times more excellent, more honorable, more honest than the rest of the smartest kids that were in the University of Babylon. And of course, Nebuchadnezzar, being a wise man who is not like the nepotistic, dim-witted, average intelligent political bandits we have in Nigeria, chose to put them at the helm of affairs, made them the chief of the satraps out of the 120 provincial heads to help him govern. And of course, they helped him to build up the biggest economy and the biggest nation then under Nebuchadnezzar. So why am I saying this? Education is very key, and we need to be very, very intentional in building up the literacy level in Nigeria. Real education that impacts both learning and character. If you look at Singapore, if you look at China, you will see If you look at Singapore, you look at China, you will see clear similarities and patterns in their evolution to becoming first world economies. As at 1965, when Singapore was kicked out of mainland Malaysia, literacy level was at 52%. They began a gradual ascent, firstly rooting out corruption, building up the educational sector, encouraging learning and knowledge. And by 1980, they had literacy level of almost about 62%. And by 2000, they've gotten to about 98%. Today, Singapore is a first world country. From fourth world country to first world country with the most respected passport in the whole world. What of China? As at 1980, Chinese had over 739 million people under poverty. The GDP per capita of China in 1980 was far lower than that of Nigeria. And China had literacy level of 92%. China embarked on a very audacious education revolution and transformation program that saw them shipping out some of their brightest and smartest to the US, to the UK, to the US to go and acquire knowledge. From 1980 fast forward to 2000, literacy level, 2005, the literacy level had gone up to about 95%. Today, China has literacy level of about 98%. China had been able to move over 700 million people out of poverty. One thing: education, knowledge, wisdom, acquisitions. Today, China's GDP per capita is almost at about $11,000 to $13,000 per capita. They have the highest population of human beings on planet Earth. Nigeria, where I come from, especially the southeast of Nigeria, Alibo. Remember, we were one of the last to secure Western education because most for people from the Calabar to Lagos got Western education before us. And I remember our ancestors, our forebears, there was a very special program that they embarked upon, community-based help program, where the smartest and the brightest were communally sponsored and funds aggregated. We went to school, it supported our people to go to school. And by 1960, we practically caught up with the rest of Nigeria. Today, in the Education Excellence Index, there used to be a time when if you want to see number 1 to number 3, it's always Imo, Abia, and all the rest of them. Anambra broke into that first 3 list under P2B, and they've remained there. We must be very intentional. We have insecurity in the Southeast because we refuse to train and educate our children. 90% of the kids who have turned to cannibals, 90% of the men who are in the bush shouting referendum or death, 90% of them were children that we refused to train. We did not educate them. We did not help them to acquire knowledge. Some of them in Europe, in America, sponsoring this criminality in the Southeast are people that ran out of Nigeria and went to Europe and the West as refugees. They have no papers. So what they are trying to do, most of them, is just to stoke confusion, stoke carnage in the Southeast so that they can lay hold of the activities there to claim asylum wherever they are. If we had properly trained our children and educated them like the Chinese and the Singaporeans, they will not even want to venture out of the Southeast. If we have built up the infrastructure in the Southeast and made the place the way Michael Okpara envisioned it, we won't be where we are today. Michael Okpara had a vision of putting affordable food and education on the table of every indigenous of the old Eastern region. That is today made up of about 9 states. Imo, Abia, Ebonyi, Enugu, Anambra, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, and Bayelsa. We are all part of the old Eastern region. Can we look back and see what we can do to boost education? The truth is that governments of the day are not even committed to boosting education. By UNESCO standard, every 25% of our borrowings, of our earnings, minimum should be devoted to funding education. We look at the budgets of the states in Southeast. Only Enugu and the Abia State had actually made any move to do 25%. And I just need to be very, very sure that most of the funds are not going into private pockets. So what am I suggesting and how do we get out of this? I've always said it. The children of the other less privileged parents that you fail to train will be a torment to your own children. One of the policies and one of my vow to God is that as long as I live, none of my nephews, none of my cousins, none of my nieces, none of my relations who has the brain to go to school will fail to go to school. I will do everything, scrape everything to make sure that I finance their education because I know the importance of knowledge and learning and wisdom. But there's a limit to what a man can do. It's not just, if God has blessed some of us to be privileged to take care of our nieces, our nephews, and our cousins, there are people that are not endowed as everybody. In Nigeria today, over 197 million Nigerians live on less than $64.50 income per month. So you have 197 people who cannot even feed, talk less of funding education of others. So the privileged 5%, we should come together at the community level, at the local government level, set up education support trust funds at the state level. What our forebears did to boost education, we can revisit it. One, we pursue 1,000. Two, we pursue 10,000. Let us stop these individualistic things, trying to build up our own little corner. And see, no matter how tall your fence is, if your neighbors are not feeding well, they will find a way of breaking it down. So we must look at what the Chinese did, what the Singaporeans did, and come together and set up at the community level, at local government level, at the state level, education, scholarship, support, trust funds. Whatever you can put in, you put in. We have to make it organized. Both those at home and in diaspora. We can even appeal to donor agencies to support us. To fund education is not easy. Go and fact check me. To train a child through the school from primary to secondary school to university, it's not that cheap. It's very, very expensive. While we support government and help them to build infrastructure in our public schools, put in place good learning facilities, train our teachers. We need to pay the teachers well. We need to improve on the welfare of teachers. All over the world, the smartest actually enter the classroom. In New York, the minimum wage for teachers, fact check me, is between $80,000 to $150,000 per annum. Teachers. We should talk about minimum wage of teachers at whatever level should not be anything less than 400,000 naira. When you make minimum wage for primary school teachers at 300, 400, 500,000 naira, if you make the same thing for secondary school, you will see clearly at university level that when people graduate, the smartest will not start migrating, looking for jobs in private sector. They will go into the classroom. And when you have the smartest and the brightest teaching our children, excellence will always beget excellence. Then when you see the smartest and the brightest leaving Nigeria, migrating to other sectors, and then those who managed, the below average ones who managed to graduate, will now go and do their masters, and they are back to the classroom. How bad? A blind man cannot lead a blind man. With all due respect for the excellent teachers out there, we know the truth. The quality of education has fallen because the quality of learning, the quality of faculties, the quality of infrastructure, the quality of teaching aid has totally fallen. And that is the truth. There was a time in Nigeria, once people are graduating, they are scouting for the smartest and begging them to stay in the classroom to help support research work. Research, we are being funded. I pray that God will help us to appreciate this message. Please share it. Let it go viral. We can help to structure those trust funds. We have credible trustees that can help manage such funds. We have credible trustees, credible outfits. We will aggregate fund. We will help educate. If we have literacy level of 97% in Nigeria, you will have Boko Haram, you will have Lokawara, you will have unknown government, and that is the truth. Poverty, illiteracy is linked to illiteracy. Go and check. Look at the Arab world, look at the Islamic world. Why do you think there are no insurgents in United Arab Emirates? There are no insurgents in Bahrain. Go and look at their literacy level. It's 98%. Then look at Afghanistan. Look at Yemen. The same Islamic countries. They are the headquarters of terrorism. Go and look at their literacy level. 52%. There is a direct linkage between illiteracy, lack of knowledge, poverty, and insecurity, and criminality. May God have mercy on us. Please make it go viral. My numbers are WhatsApp 090909000989. Mobile 0813-444-1140. We can help put the documentations in place and structure these trust funds. Governments are encouraged at the state level, at local government level, to champion this. Even churches. Churches should be at the forefront of setting up this education trust fund in their parishes, in their branches. To see, I used to be, a worker, in one of the Redeemed parishes, International Harvest Center, under Pastor Luka Alaka. Pastor Alaka is now in Australia. We did similar thing. We trained a lot of kids through school. Some didn't even know who trained them because we were aggregating funds. In fact, some of them, even after graduating, went to thank Pastor Laka. Pastor Laka will not tell them, this is the person that trained you. This is how the funds were aggregated. Churches should be at the forefront of setting up these education trust funds. If you don't know how to do it, we can help you. Let us build up each other. If we can drive up literacy level in Nigeria to 98, let us make it a 12-year program. By 2035, we should have 98% of Nigerians educated. Real literacy and education. We'll take the 20 million kids out of school. That should be our mission field. That should be our ministry. That should be our focus. Rather than going to the UK and the US and everywhere to set up parishes, let us see how we can take the 20 million kids out of school, back to school. And if you have 20 million of these kids in, knowing Christ, following Christ through education and learning, you've won a nation to God. May God have mercy on us. Thank you.